Hello and welcome to the online discourse Challenges and Opportunities to Achieve Social Cohesion and Communal Harmony in South Asia, a conversation with Mike Voss, organized by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities, SARIM. I'm your host, Rimsha Shahid, research analyst at SARIM, and today we have a very distinguished guest and an advocate of a cohesive society, Mr. Mike Voss. Mike Voss is currently the director of the Center for Pluralism as well as the America Together Foundation. As a peace and human rights activist, he has advocated for the peaceful coexistence of Islam with other world religions and spoken out against both Islamophobia and religious intolerance within the Muslim community. Ghouse has spoken at various international forums and events, such as the Council of the Parliament of the World's Religions in Melbourne, Australia, and the Middle East Peace Initiative in Jerusalem, Israel. He has also served as a commissioner for the municipal government of Carrollton, Texas. In addition, My Ghouse has organized interfaith weddings in the United States and is an activist for peace, religious coexistence among Muslims and adherents of different religion. Mr. Ghouse, I'm really pleased to have you as our guest. I hope this course will going to be quite resourceful and informative. Thank you so much for being with us.
Rimsha, it's a pleasure to be with you. And I'm glad what your organization, South Asia Association, is doing to promote cohesiveness around the societies. I think it is a good initiative. I think you're doing some good research, and I'm pleased to be part of what you're doing here.
Yeah, we always try to bring out the voice of marginalized communities to like mitigate their issues, the issues they are facing right now. So I will now begin with my first question. Mr. Ghosh, you have been working diligently to promote religious and human rights pluralism through your organization, Center for Pluralism. Kindly briefly tell us about your organization.
Sure. The Center for Pluralism was formed in 1996 with a
Okay.
clear mission to open people's hearts and minds towards each other. Most of the conflicts in the world today, not all, are based in religion. One of the oldest conflicts, some of the oldest conflicts are between Christians and Jews, followed by Christians and Muslims, and then Hindus and Christians. Deep down, they are not religious. They are political, or for resources, or for the power, and but for superiority. If these conflicts we want to mitigate, it may be a small effort, but it has its own impact. I'll give you an example. In one of our Unity Day programs that we've been doing for last 17 or 18 years, we bring people from all traditions, from atheists, Baha'i, Buddhist, Christian, Jain, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Zoroastrian, and including Native Americans. We try to bring about 500 people because that is the capacity of the halls, and everybody is included in this. In one such event, I called on people from the audience to join me on the stage. 39 people. That is 13 groups of 3 people each. And we gave them the information. As you walk up to the stage as a volunteer, you will be given a little rolled chit. In that chit, you will be assigned a religion, and all of them will be there. So if you get the chit for a particular religion, you have a choice to accept or not accept. Funny thing, Rimsha, the first person that walked up from this audience was a Baptist minister. And he, those chits we had, secret chits rolled up, we gave one to him. It turned out to be for atheists. And the Baptist minister, even Muslims, and don't like to be atheist. And he said, well, I got the atheist. I don't know if I can be here. And I said, it is up to you. You have the free choice. Then he said, okay, I'll join you. Then we had about 39 people from different faiths holding a chit about each group. We gave them scriptures from all religions. From atheism, it's common sense, then we gave. And then we asked each group of three, read what you have in your hands, tell what you understand about it, and tell if you recognize the religion for that. So the bottom line I want to give here, so how this works, is the president of the Islamic Society in Texas. He read something and he said, Mike, I really like this. What is this from? It was from Bhagavad Gita. And they say, if this is the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, I don't mind reading this book. And there was a woman, a Christian right-wing woman, she hated Muslims. She was very much of an Islamophobe. She read, and then we asked, what do you think? Where is it from? She said, I don't know. Then her partner, the third member in the group, said, it is from the Islamic book, Quran. Then she said, I can't believe this. It is in Islam. And all of a sudden she said, I must confess that I was an Islamophobe, but reading these verses from my two other people and hearing from everybody else, I renounce my Islamophobia and I'm going to be open-minded. So this is what it takes. Religion is the main source of conflict. And if you can address head on, things will mitigate.
What I personally believe that we direly need intolerance, specifically towards beliefs and faiths, like freedom of expression, freedom to express opinions and ideas are direly needed in making a cohesive society in today's world. So yes, Mr. Rose, you are doing a remarkable job by doing all these efforts. And moving towards our next question. So my
Thank you,
next
Rimsha.
question.
Go
No
ahead.
problem. My next question is, interfaith harmony and tolerance can play a key role in social cohesion. However, to achieve interfaith harmony is the most difficult thing in the present world. What way forwards would you like to suggest to make a much tolerant society?
Sure. Again, religion is misunderstood. For example, Islam is misunderstood even by Muslims, let alone the other people. And and we cannot blame for those people who believe what they believe, because the scholars in the Middle Ages understood Islam certain way, not from the Quran. They understood certain way and projected it that way. And Muslims believe that. There are a lot of corrections that have taken in the last 20 years, a lot of misunderstandings that were propagated by Muslim scholars have been corrected now by another scholars, and it has been generally accepted. For example, verse 434 from Surah Nisa, where a man can tell the wife not to do these certain things, then he can demand. If not, he can hit. For 1400 years, this was the understanding. It was written by the scholars from 1,000 years ago. So Dr. Lale Bakhtiar, she read through the Quran, found out the word zarab, daraba, was used 27 times in the Quran. And out of the 27 times, about 24 times, it simply means separation, not hitting. So the misogynistic men, I'm sorry for some of my imams and maulvis that listening to the program, they need to study the Quran, study question. So she found that this was a wrong usage of the meaning, and she corrected this about 15 years ago. And then now all the new Quran translations, the new prints are all correcting those errors for 1,000 years. So there is a lot of hadiths that are misunderstood. So we need a continuing education course for all people, not to repeat what was given to us, but question and understand. God gave us the Quran for us to read and understand. Now, religion should make us humble, not arrogant. It is the arrogance that creates conflict within a family, community, nation, and in the world. The arrogance that my way is the right way, your way is not. Who gives you the authority to say your way is the right way? And why do you have to force other people to change? Interfaith harmony, Rimsha, is achievable, and we are working on it. In our workshops, we are doing small effort. Someday when somebody finances us big time, we can go worldwide. But we will not stop from doing what we want to do. In our workshops, for example, the first question I ask my friends is, what is my loss? I ask them to keep thinking, what is my loss? Then take it from different points of view, from a religious point of view, social and workplace. What is my loss if somebody prays one God, no God, many gods? What is my loss? What is my loss if someone prays in total prostration, total sajda, or total ruku, kneeling? What is my loss if somebody hangs from the tree and worships the God? All of us. Now, the second part of the question is, what is my loss? What is the essence? The essence in all those acts is being humble, worshiping the Creator. So, then if you go to the culture, what is my loss if a woman wears a hijab? What is my loss? What do I lose? What if a Sikh wears a turban? What if somebody keeps a beard? What if somebody wears a kurta? What if somebody wears shorts? What is my loss? These are the questions. And then you look at the essence. Why do, for example, the Arabs countries, they wear long, full, flowing clothes? Some people have prejudice against that clothes. Why do they wear that kind of clothes? As if their clothes is the best one. But if you go to Saudi Arabia or the UAE, going to the desert, there is windstorms called shamals. They go like 35 miles an hour. All the sand grains fly at 35 miles. When they hit your face gets bloodied up. So I understood why the Arabs wear long clothes, to prevent climatic issues. So the essence is covering the body. What the ritual is, they wear different clothes to suit the climate, to suit their culture. What you begin to wear as for climate becomes a part of your culture for a period of time. Then another part of culture is eating. What difference does it make if somebody eats beef, pork, lamb, chicken, or vegetarian? What is my loss? The food. And the second question is the essence and not rituals. The essence of eating any food is to nurture the body. And it depends. India, for example, had it's a land of rivers, a lot of vegetables was grown. People resorted to vegetarian food. In America, beef is available in plenty, non-stop, too much beef. People eat beef. In some other countries, they eat goat meat. What is available to them? So we got to look at the essence of eating is nurturance, and what we eat is cultural based on the climate and what we get there, and then we develop into a culture. So I think if we can get these phrases in our vocabulary each time, if I look at somebody and say, well, I don't like the way he's worshiping or she's worshiping, I don't like the way they believe, then the first question we should ask is, what is my loss? What is the essence of what he or she is doing? And then a lot of prejudice will go away from us. And when the prejudice leaves us, when our hearts and minds are open to each other, the interfaith harmony begins at that point.
So yeah, very right. And the next question is regarding to your answer that you provided. A research finds that critical thinking, free expression, and open debate on social issues were prerequisites for the construction of a diverse and tolerant society. However, in today's world, freedom of expression is being used to spread hate speech, resulting in an intolerant environment. What is your take over it?
The first thing, the societies in the past, whether it is in Arabia, India, wherever, they were very monolithic societies. All Christians lived in one neighborhood, Jews lived in one neighborhood, Hindus lived in neighborhood. There was not much interaction. And when there is no interaction, you find your own rules to work with it. But when you start interacting, then people started going from country to country on the ocean ships, in the boats, steamboats. They start going. Then they saw that there are different cultures. People live differently. At the beginning, they were intolerant. For example, the not the pilgrims, the missionaries that came to the United States looked down upon the Native American culture. They're savages. That's the words they used. They're savages. They are not cultured. We have to teach them. That's the wrong attitude. But that's in the past. But the society has more civilized now. People accept the differences. So when the societies lived in their own little niche, they didn't have. But when they started interacting, now today, not much in Pakistan. Well, it is in Pakistan too. You go to any major city in Pakistan, India, in the United States, people of different faiths, ethnicities, languages are working together. These interactions create conflicts. And as a society, we have the responsibility to mitigate those conflicts. And then you mentioned about the hate speech. Hate speech is nothing new, Rimsha. The inner desire of the hate is the person to be silenced. Somebody you don't agree with, you want to silence them, you want other people to obey you, not giving them the same right. Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, Krishna, and all the great reformers were chased and harassed. It's nothing new. It's a very historic hate. God gives guidance to deal with such. We have to learn from the religions continuously and apply it. For example, Jesus said to turn the other cheek, simply meaning don't aggravate the situation. For example, if two individuals are fighting and one curses some big words, the other person also uses bigger words to curse, and it keeps going. What Jesus said was don't aggravate it. If you match conflict with conflict, if there is no stoppage, you take a stop and then stops. And Islam guides us that if somebody mistreats you, somebody is bad to you, try to be double good to them. That's the Quran, I think 41:34 verse. Uh, so there is a guidance in all holy books, all religions, to deal with the conflicts. To when there is a hate speech, if you do the hate speech against them, it multiplies. Instead, pause, talk to them. Mother Teresa, for example, had said something very beautiful. If you want to make peace with your enemies, those who hate you, go talk to them. Talking among ourselves will not resolve any situation. Talking with the ones that you need to. It may be very difficult, but you have to. Jesus talked with the enemies. Prophet Muhammad talked with the enemies. And they are our examples. We need to go talk with your enemies to find solutions. All the good things, Rimsha, have come from free speech. Free speech should not be curbed at all, at any cost. For example, women were suppressed and oppressed for since the times memorial. It took a long time for women to achieve their freedom. In the United States, there was a women's suffrage movement. Act was passed in 1919 that gave the women to vote. Before that, women didn't have a choice. I'm watching some of the Western movies to understand American culture. I have watched over 100 Western movies. It was a very misogynistic culture. Women were nothing. Women were treated, hey, just like it happens in India and Pakistan, even today, they tell women to go do what needs to be done. Like they were slaves, they were trapped. But that is all changed. Um, Free speech comes with, and including political freedom. The freedom that we have in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh from the colonial rule came because of the free speech, of the speeches Nehru, Jinnah, Gandhi taught. And that's how we got our freedom. Free speech should not become, even if it is bad, ugly, we need to let that be there. And as the Quran and Jesus and Hinduism guides us, do better for them. So I hope that answers the question.
You really highlighted the key facts regarding the Western culture. Actually, women were considered at that time witches, and there was a group which was famous for the title of witch hunters, and they used to murder or used to burn alive the women at that time.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, hate speeches has always been there from the very start. So my next question is, how can local capacity to prevent and mitigate violence through peaceful means can be ensured through good governance?
The very purpose of government or religion is to ensure every member of the society feels secure and free with the religion, race, ethnicity, or whatever it is. Uh, the local capacity can be increased by it's always volunteers. And God in the Quran says, to every nation he has sent a peacemaker. And the Bhagavad Gita also says that Lord Krishna says, whenever there is chaos in the society, someone will emerge from among them to bring peace and harmony back again. And that is a natural phenomenon. You can also look to it as a law of physics. When things go extremely bad, something comes out of it to bring it, restore the goodness again. And the governance, unfortunately, in the old days, the kings ruled and they were apne manmani, whatever they were whimsical, whatever they came to mind, there was nobody to question. Fortunately, we have democracies around the world. It is in Pakistan, India, we can question. But in democracies, unfortunately, every now and then we have authoritarians. It's happening in India right now. Who Putin? He's elected, but he's an authoritarian. Rajab Tayyip in Turkey, he is democratically elected, but he's an authoritarian. They want to, they don't, the authoritarian people don't believe in other people's rights. They believe they know everything, they have to control. So it is up to the people to revolt against such authoritarians, get rid of them, and restore true democracy, put into the constitution. Even India's constitution is one of the best constitution, but is being violated by the rulers, today's rulers. So we got to have some good checks and balances. In the US has the best example of good governance. And good governance is very important to curb the violence. And all it takes is somebody to say it. If, for example, the president in the US, if there is a violence in a church or any place, he or she, well, we don't have a she yet, he comes and says, I will not put up with this. We cannot tolerate discrimination. We cannot tolerate hate, but we allow hate speech and matched by good speech. So when the government, the elected leader says that, a lot of times things calm down. And that's what it takes. Somebody to speak up.
You're very right. As far as democracy is concerned, I believe that democracy is very, very important, but we hardly see pure democracy throughout the world. Like countries are not practicing the original democracy, and the essence of democracy has been weeded out. Seriously.
True, true.
Yeah,
The oldest democracy is the United States, and we have matured. We are
yeah,
not a perfect democracy,
exactly,
but we have
exactly.
matured, and our rights, I feel secure no matter what happens.
Okay,
But
nice. It's
other democracies started coming out about 70 years ago, starting with India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, all these, Pakistan, all these democracies are 70 years old. There is a
okay.
lot of maturity. For example, in one of the ideas of democracies is to be accepting the other point of view.
Right. Very
For example, in India, Mr. Modi will put people who disagree with him in the jail,
yeah,
or even and the more his deputy probably will get somebody killed. That is not democracy.
exactly.
Democracy is have this. You feel secure enough that you are doing the right thing to allow dissent, to allow discard, to allow people to disagree with you because you are confident of being righteous. You allow that. If you are not secure in yourselves, if you're an authoritarian, you don't allow that.
Exactly.
So that is one
Very.
test of democracy besides voting.
So the next question is, a research of UN highlights that when communities work together to achieve development goals, politically motivated and other forms of violence are significantly reduced. However, political influence in South Asian countries is deeply instilled and political bodies creates divide within society to achieve their hidden interest. What measures can be adopted to curb this issue?
Well, all it takes is to speak up for the public since we're the democracies. The political leaders need to go through the orientation. Maybe the United Nations can offer a course that the more chaotic the society, they think, for example, in India, I can give you cite the examples of India. Modi and Shah, they create a lot of chaos in the society by the words they use. And when the chaos is there, it is very difficult to control the mobs and the creation. The more chaotic the country, the more difficult it is to run. At the end, every Indian will be a loser by the politicians. If the reason the investors from the United States, UK, and other countries heavily invest in India is because of a politically stable environment that creates jobs for everybody, brings in investments. But if they create chaos in the society, when there is instability, for example, the Google, Facebook, and all, if their employees feel insecure, they are threatened by the mobs or whatever. For example, Kentucky Fried Chicken was mobbed several times in India for eating the halal meat or using meat. They wanted vegetarian. McDonald's was harassed. Somehow the government took interest and protected them. If not, they will go back. They will not come invest it. So it is in the interest of the politicians create a very secure political environment and avoid these political things. Once again, I go back to my previous response that the politicians, we need secure politicians who look at, for example, in England, in London, in the Parliament in London, the Prime Minister answers all questions every week. He or she is confident that what they are doing is right, and they allow disagreement, but they speak. But in India, it is not happening because of the Prime Minister of India is not confident, not secure in himself. He wants to bulldoze everybody. So it takes, uh, I think, the governments to speak up, and it is in their interest to avoid violence, mitigate violence, and create an environment where everybody feels secure. The very purpose of government
Exactly, very true. Moving towards our next question, as our organization mainly focuses on the South Asian countries. So the next question is related to this. Among all these South Asian countries, how would you rank or categorize each on the basis of religious and ethnic discrimination? In which country people are being subjected to higher rate of discrimination and violence compared to other countries, and why to achieve interfaith harmony and social cohesion seems an unsurmountable task in these countries.
And it is a difficult question, Rimsha. Uh, Always people feel my pain is bigger than your pain. We do a program called Holocaust and Genocides. And in that program, we always talk about Holocaust and 3 genocides from around the world. And we have covered in the last 16 or 17 years, we have covered many genocides. This is what happens. In one of the events we did a skit. Because invariably, every time we talk about, let's say, for example, genocide in Myanmar, Burma, genocide happening in China, or even in India and other places, all in a sudden, somebody will stand up and say, what about us? Why aren't you talking about our genocide? And for that, we made a skit. The skit was I would walk on the stage, and another person walks as my father on the stage. Skit is an act. He would walk as my father, and I would walk in there. And I would say, I'm going to talk about genocides of Rwanda. I'm going to talk about the genocide in Vietnam. And he would come and slap me. What about others? The slapping, he really slapped me hard. The guy, the idea was to make a point that we are talking about genocides of all. It is just not you. It's not your pain that is bigger than my pain. Everybody's pain is bigger to that person who is going through that difficult pain. So India has witnessed the most violence against Dalits. It's not today. For 5,000-6,000 years, Dalits were on the lowest rung of the society, and their villages were burned. Even 6 months ago, a Dalit on his wedding day was riding a horse, Dulhamia, and the Brahmins, the upper caste, did not tolerate that they were walking on the ground and he's sitting on the top. They killed him. They harassed and lynched him. So this is happening even today. The Dalits are the most suffered in the South Asia. If you look at the world, the Native Americans are the ones who suffered the most. Second comes the African Americans. Third comes the Muslims and Christians in India. The Muslims and Christians are not killed on a massive scale continuously, but Gujarat happened, and Sikhs were massacred in 1984 riots. And in Bangladesh, many Bengalis were killed by the military from Pakistan. And the Biharis left in Bangladesh were harassed. So this is continuing every place. And that needs to be stopped. And it has to be stopped. And we have to learn the programs that we have, Holocaust and genocide. We bring people, all people, to show that every community has suffered. There is no exception. There is not a community that has not suffered. Even the Baptist, which is the majority in the United States now, at the beginning, they were harassed. Catholics were harassed in America. Then Jewish people were harassed. Muslims are being harassed. Now Hindus will be harassed. All minorities are being harassed every place in the world. We need to create a better society. And the only thing is law and order. The United States has the best formula, a good democracy. And I hope other countries look at us. Why? Everybody in the world wants to come to the United States. And I love that. We are the best country in the world from a point of view of prosperity and security. Why is America? America is no different than Pakistan in terms of resources, in terms of people. It's no different than India. Why America is more successful? It is because of the law and order. In fact, Imran Khan, in his maiden speech, when he became prime minister, said the very same thing. America has law and order. Nobody will be allowed to go mess the country. If it is law, there is a court system to follow. So that's what it takes, law and order.
Exactly, you're very right. And my next question was relating to this about the Gujarat riots of 2002 and what sort of action can be taken to make to avoid a demographic imbalance in mass killing. And there's obviously no justification of such a mass killing, be it with Hindus or Muslims or Dalits or Christians. So, moving towards another question. Pertaining to the victimization of minority groups in India, Akar Patel, former head of Amnesty International, said that India's civic violence shows either the state does something that provokes the violence or does not do enough to stop it. To what extent the state is deliberately provoking the anti-minority sentiment within the country?
Well, let me go straight. Uh, for example, the state involved inciting Prime Minister Modi says we identify those people by their clothes, meaning Muslims. Yogi, one of the chief ministers of the largest states in India, called Uttar Pradesh, he says Abba, Abba Jan, meaning Muslims. Those words create division among people. Of course, not all Hindus believe in that kind of nonsense, but there is some. About 36% of Hindus believe in that nonsense, and all of a sudden they fall into the trap of what Modi says or Yogi says and develop hatred. And that is not good for the country. Modi is hurting India. Yogi is hurting India by using that kind of language. That is what the state language, state incitement comes two examples. From what they are not doing to prevent it is there are about 200 some lynchings. That is on this street. One of the extreme lynching was a Muslim woman walking on the street, carrying a bag. A mob rushes to her, thinking that she's carrying the beef. She was not. And she was hung from a tree and non-stop beating, and the crowds were cheering. What kind of humanity do we are encouraging? Did Modi stop it? No, he didn't. He didn't say a word. Then there was a rape of, I'm trying to think the name, in New Delhi. It was an open bus. Somebody raped a girl. Then they cut her to pieces, put rods in her private parts, and threw it on the roadside. It took, the government didn't stop it. When the entire country was outraged, that's when Modi spoke. Asifa, a girl, a Bakarwal girl in Kashmir who rears the sheep, was taken into the temple. 7 or 8 men raped her. They let go. They didn't put them in the jail. They didn't punish it. The government didn't stop it. This is what makes India an unsafe country if it continues. I know the elections are coming. I hope the Indian people wake up and at least if they like Modi's party, that's fine. At least put a strong opposition to prevent the government from doing this nonsensical, irrational acts in India. So those are the two examples of what government incites and what government could have prevented.
So there's obviously a deliberate ignorance towards all these issues regarding the minorities, and they are seriously not safe in that country.
All Indians are going to
Very
pay.
horrific incidents.
Indians are going to pay a big price for these acts because when India becomes politically unstable, I hope not. If it becomes, then foreign investment will stop. Most Indians will be jobless. It will become very difficult to sustain peace and harmony.
Though the
Sorry, go
country
ahead.
is said to be the largest democratic state in the world, but still democracy is like nowhere, no.
Well, we are still a democracy. Still, there is some semblance of democracy, but it is being taken out and it is being chiseled out every day.
The pure sense of democracy says that it's not about the rights of majority, but it's about the safety of minority.
I would put it this way: it is not necessarily the rights of majority or security of minority. It is the security of the all nation. If, for example, if the minorities are not secure, there is an element of tension among the majority who lives next to them. So it is not worth the tensions for anybody. It is the security of all people in a country that needs to be worked on, not necessarily the rights of minorities, but the rights of all people.
Equal rights for sure. So moving towards our last question. To what degree democratic effort is required to establish social balance, economic dynamism, and national identity with the goals of founding a system of equity and avoiding social rights within any nation?
As you mentioned, Rimsha, democracy is not perfect. The best way for people is to learn. There is no such thing as a social balance or creating a balance in society or a demographic balance. Uh, balance is all people living together in harmony. There is a Native American saying, I'm trying to think, he said it, oh, Chief Seattle. Chief Seattle is the name of the Native American. He said something very powerful. Man did not create this web. We are part of the web. Each strand is holding the whole web together. If the man messes with one strand, it messes the whole thing. It's like poison. One drop of the poison in a bucket spoils the entire water, dangerous to all people. So there is no such thing as a balance. It is learning to respect. I'm coming to my pluralism now. Pluralism is learning to respect the otherness of the other. You are who you are. I am who I am. What difference does it make to me what you eat, what you believe, what you wear? What is my loss? How does it impact me? If we start thinking in those directions, learning to accept and respect, for example, if one person is dark, one person is light, one person is black, one person is white, it is God's creation. Do you think God goofed up? Do you believe in God? If you believe in God, God created each one of us. Did God make a mistake? If God makes a mistake, then you are believing in a wrong way. God doesn't make mistake. God created us to be different, to be unique. Each one of us has got our own thumbprint, eye print. Our DNA is different. We are so unique that if you were raised by the same mother, I'm using that language in the US, in the Pakistan and India, it is the same mother for all children. But in the US, sometimes it is different. If you were raised by the same mother, she feeds you the same food on the table for both the children. But when you grow up, you have different tastes for salt, sugar, and spices. Our taste buds are very unique. So we need to learn to accept our religious thoughts. Even though all may believe in Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity, there is a variance in to a small degree. We need to learn to accept that we are different. What difference does it make to me? For example, if Muslims hold the hands here or there and do the namaz. So I think the bottom line is learning to respect the otherness of the other and accepting their God-given uniqueness. It takes the conflicts out and brings some solutions. And the pluralism, Rimsha, if you got a few more minutes, is in pluralism, is in religion. Pluralism is in a society that is accepting how different people wear different clothes, how different people eat different foods, how they eat culturally, accepting that what difference does it make to me what people eat? So culture, then clothes, then our workplace, what difference does it make to me if I'm working with a Hindu, Muslim, Christian? My goal is I'm employed by the company to give the best results for the company. Let me do that. And when I go home, I want to give 100% of my time to my family. If on my mind, that Hindu, that Muslim, that Christian, that Jew, if I'm brooding with those thoughts, I'm not fair to my family. If my wife, my children are talking to me, my mind is elsewhere, that is wrong. We need to be pure in the sense we need to give full time to whatever we do, wholeheartedly. I hope my prayer to all people is to learn to accept and respect each other for who they are and ask these two questions every time. What is my loss? If somebody worships certain way, wears clothes certain way, eats food certain way, or votes for some political party, then what is the essence? Why do people wear turbans, hijab, burqa? If I understand that, then I will not be prejudiced towards them. Then I will be more open to each other and we can create harmony in the society. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, it perfectly answers my question. I really appreciate your all ideas. Like your all ideas are really thought evoking. Thank you so much, Mr. Mike, for your time and for making such a thoughtful discussion. I really hope to keep in touch with you and to collaborate with you and your organization in future ahead. Until then, good luck for your projects and efforts. Any other message you want to share from this platform?
No, I'm going to send you the link to that Festival of Faiths. If you want to, you can share it.
Sure. I would love to watch the link.
In Pakistan, already there are several initiatives being taken where for festivals, Muslims are joining Hindu festivals, Hindus are joining Muslim, Christian, and Sikh festivals. And that is the beautiful thing. And once again, my advice to all the people from different religion, don't go to the ritual part of the festival, like worshiping God or doing the namaz or saying the dua. Just be there with them to eat the food and enjoy being with them and have a conversation.
So thank you so much for such a thorough discussion. Goodbye.
Very welcome. Take care. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.